Today I break down the top 7 things that I love about living in El Paso. So if you're considering moving here, make sure to stick around to the end of the video because I saved the best for last and it starts right now. Hey everyone, Kenneth the Modern Agent here, back with another video. If this is the first time we're meeting, my name is Kenneth and I'm a local realtor here in El Paso, Texas. And if you're thinking about buying, selling, or even investing in real estate in the El Paso market, be sure to stay up to date by hitting that subscribe button, turn on that bell notification so you can stay ahead of the trends and never behind them. Let's get right into it. So coming in at number 1, the first thing I do want to mention is the cost of living because it is so low compared to everywhere else. Now, if you saw my video already on talking about the cost of living about El Paso, then you already know this, but compared to the national average of 100, El Paso is at a 56. So that just goes to show how much cheaper it is to live in El Paso, and I think that's super important if you're considering moving here. Now, if you haven't seen that video, I'll link to that up above. Be sure to check that out. It's super detailed in terms of the cost of living and what it's like to actually live here. So be sure to check that out if you haven't already. Coming to number 2 is going to be the activities. So even though El Paso isn't a huge city, I mean, it still has some pretty good attractions that you would typically find in larger cities like Topgolf, things like iFly, which is the indoor skydiving. We have Dave & Buster's, a pretty well-known arcade. We have things like Western Playland, which is kind of like a big amusement park. It's got quite a few roller coasters. We also have Wet n Wild, which is basically a big water park, wave pool and rock climbing in the water and all tons of water slides. So it's super cool. I'll leave a link down below to an activities list that you can actually download completely for free. Just in case you're coming to visit or maybe you're planning on moving here, you'll have a list of the 48 best activities in El Paso on me. Just go ahead and check the description. Which brings me to my third topic, which is going to be the terrain. Now, one thing I do love about El Paso is the amount of open land that there is, which just opens up the door for so many opportunities. Now, El Paso is basically a lot of desert, sandy areas, so no matter where you live, you shouldn't be more than 20-30 minutes away from some source of open land, which can allow you to do hiking, off-roading, shooting, paintballing, hunting. I mean, anything that you can think of with open land, you basically have it at your fingertips. So that is definitely a big plus for me because I do like the outdoors. I do like hiking, mountain biking, riding quads and things like that. I love that stuff. So I think El Paso is perfect because it seems like no matter where I am in the city, I never have to travel too far to find some open area to have some fun. On number 4, which is going to be the weather. Now, typically we're seeing our days anywhere from 70 to 80 degrees. Now, when we talk about the summer and the hotter months like May and June, during those peak hours right around noon, it can get pretty hot, somewhere in the 90s. So if you're not working indoors during those times, it's definitely something to consider. But if you are working indoors during those times, then you're usually out by 4 or 6 o'clock. By then, the sun's already coming down, the heat's kind of starting to dissipate, so definitely something to consider. Now, when we're talking about the winter, I think the winters are really awesome, just because of the fact that it doesn't get too cold. I mean, we're lucky to see 1 or 2 days of snow a year, so I think that the summers aren't too hot, especially for me since I'm indoors most of the time. And in the winter, I personally like the cold over the heat, so I definitely still stay active in the winter time, going for jogs, bike rides, and it's pretty bearable in my opinion. I know some people hate the cold, but for me, I think it's just perfect. Moving on to number 5 is gonna be food. Now, El Paso has a great selection of food, and what I went and did is I put together a list for you guys, which has some local and some more mainstream restaurants. Let me know down in the comments if you want me to aggregate a list of all the best restaurants and places to eat in El Paso. If I see at least one comment, I'll make the list and I'll email it right over to you. So let me know if you'd like to see that. Now, let's go ahead and read off this list for you. So we have Cattleman's, which is a really nice steakhouse that we have here in El Paso. We have Chico's Tacos, we have Whataburger. Whataburger, I know it's a little bit more mainstream, but keep in mind, Texas has more locations than every other state combined. So that's pretty local, and El Paso has quite a few of them. We have Artivino's Pizza, which is a little bit more of a gourmet, fancier type of pizza. We have Peter Piper Pizza, which is a little bit more like on the inexpensive side, but it's really good. Now moving on, we have 915 Tacos, so great Mexican food there. We have Track One, they're really known for their wings. We have Julio's Mexican food, which is honestly really good. I've been there quite a few times and never really had a bad experience. Now, a couple of the more mainstream restaurants that you'll probably recognize is like Johnny Carino's, BJ's, Landry's, Crave, Ruth Chris, things like that. And also a big one to mention is West Texas Chop House. That is another one that's kind of local here. That is super awesome steaks. Me and my wife love it there. So definitely check those out. Let me know down in the comments if you want me to get a list together for you, and I'll send it right over. Moving on to number 6 is going to be the rental housing market. So I think El Paso is a really good place to invest. Me and my wife have a couple rental properties here in the area, and one of the cool things about El Paso is that it has Fort Bliss, which is a huge military base. So you get a lot of military people coming in that basically know they're not going to be here very long. So what do? They rent. Now 40% of the houses here in El Paso are actually rentals, and they're ranging anywhere from $500 all the way up to $3,000 a month. Now, obviously those sit on the market a little bit more. Median, we're looking at, $1,500, but nonetheless still a really good rental market. For example, at the time of recording this video, there are only 150 rentals available in the entire city. So that just goes to show how much, the popularity of rentals here in the city. So if you're an investor or you're moving here and maybe thinking about buying a property, living it for some time, upgrading and then renting out your initial property, I think is a really good opportunity for local investors. Moving on to our last topic, which is going to be number 7, the community. Now, I've talked about this before in other videos where I think the community is really warm-hearted and a lot of kind people, but kind of tying away from that, one of the things that makes El Paso great is that it has a really dense urban feel, but the good thing about it is, like I said, you're always 20 to 30 minutes away from open land, meaning that it's a lot of opportunity for recreational activities. Because I know the typical same old, like going to, bowling or movies or, just the typical stuff that everybody does can get pretty boring, at least in my opinion. So it's good to have the opportunity to have open land and really have, a blank canvas where you can really do anything with the family. So that's one of the things that I think makes El Paso great. But let me know, what do you prefer? Do you prefer a more dense area, where there's, a lot of kind of business attractions, or do you prefer like more open land, more kind of like nature activities? Let me know down in the comments. Be sure to check out this video where it illustrates my take on living in El Paso for over 22 years. And right below it is going to be a video that YouTube recommends you watch. Be sure to check those out. Thanks so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.